friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Emily, and today I have a fun little video where I'm going to talk about this whole pile of things that I sort of stress knit while we were waiting for our second little baby to arrive at the beginning of August. I just was fairly on edge about the whole thing, and so I used knitting as a way to cope with it. So I have a lot to talk about, and I've also managed to finish a decent amount of stuff over the summer that I'm hoping to talk about in a podcast episode soon, but I thought this would be an easy way to kind of split up some of the finished objects because over the summer I was a prolific knitter, like way more than I typically am. And so now things are back to a bit more normal of the pace slowing down a little bit. But now I have a bit of a backlog of things that I finished that then I just haven't made a podcast episode in a while. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of split things up. And I'm going to try and go through this relatively quickly. Kind of had a rough night last night where either the baby was up or the toddler was up and they were taking turns getting up, and I'm tired. So I need to take a nap while they're napping, and then I also have some knitting I want to do, and then I have some videos I need to edit, and yada yada yada, all the things. So I'm just gonna, but I really wanted to share all of these things with you. I've had a bunch of them piled up back here to keep them in one spot until I shared them with all of you. So let's just dive right in. We have hats, cows, and pumpkins. So the first cowl that I wanted to talk about is this one. It's called, I believe, the Dash Cowl. It's patterned by Emily of the Blue Mouse Knits, and I knit this out of some Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn in a yellow color. I don't know what it's called. And this is just a very simple tube cowl. It just kind of goes like this. And I did this cowl as a sort of joint project with my sister while she was here. She was wanting to do some knitting work. She's been wanting to get more into doing knitting, and so I was like, obviously, of course, like, yes, we'll do all the knitting things. And so I picked this pattern because it's a very simple, you work it in the round, and there's some knits and some purls, and that's about it. You can learn how to cast on and bind off, and it's just very simple. And it's worked on US size 8 or 5mm needles, and so it works up pretty quickly. And yeah, she did a fantastic job. She did hers in a hunter, deep forest green. And so now we have matching cowls, and then we both had enough left over to do some hats. My hat I chose to do, I'm not going to put it on because I've got a ponytail in. This is a hat pattern that I found years and years ago when I was like 16 or 17, when I first started properly getting into knitting. If you haven't followed my channel for a while, I learned how to knit when I was about 9, but I didn't seriously get into knitting until I was about 16, 17, somewhere right around in there. And this was a hat pattern that I found at that time, and it's just a very simple cable beanie. I have the pattern printed out, so unfortunately I have no idea who the designer is, how to link it, anything like that. So unfortunately I can't tell you who did it, but it's just a very simple cable beanie hat pattern, and I have made 8 of these at this point. So yeah, I just went ahead and used up the last little bits of the yarn that I had and made a hat. And then my sister also made a hat with her leftovers. And so it was really nice because from one skein of the I love this yarn, I keep wanting to say I love this cotton because that's the Hobby Lobby yarn that I've used probably the most, but it's just the I love this yarn, 100% acrylic yarn. I was able to get a hat and a cowl, so I was like, that's fantastic. And then I made, let's see, I can't remember if I made these hats next. I saw a blog post or something that was talking about making a cute little bear ear hat out of some super chunky yarn, and I was like, oh, that looks really cute. So I went to Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby is pretty much the only craft store near me, and also I just love Hobby Lobby. And I got some I love this yarn chunky, and I was going to try it. It was a crochet pattern. I tried to do it and it was hurting my hands so much, and I think that this yarn was a thicker chunky yarn than what the pattern called for, so I ended up scrapping that, but then I still had the yarn, and I was like, well, I don't want this to just sit around in my stash because I'm not really going to use it for anything. So I found a separate pattern that was for a little chunky knit hat. So I made one for my toddler, one for the baby. And these were super, super quick. I think I made both of these in one day. They worked on like size 10 needles maybe. And yeah, it was so fast and easy. It's a super, super simple pattern. I cannot remember what it was, unfortunately. If I can think of it, if I can find it, I'll try and link it down below, but you can just Google like chunky hat free knitting pattern or something, and it pulled it up. So yeah, the one thing is I realized that I made this one for my toddler a little short, so my plan was that he could wear it with the brim folded up like so. However, I realized that I made it a little bit short on him, so he ends up having to actually wear it with the ribbing down, but it's fine. No big deal. So there were those two. And then, well, I'll show you all of my pumpkins that I made in just a second, but I've gotten a real pumpkin or pumpkin themed knitting and crocheting kick because it was very simple, very mindless, like using up random scraps of yarn from my stash. Like it was so nice and just what my brain needed. So I made two little pumpkin hats, which I would definitely link the pattern for this below. And if you're interested, I actually have a listing up in my Etsy shop that if you would like some little pumpkin hats for your little pumpkins, I have an Etsy shop listing up where I will make some little pumpkin hats for sale. So I will have that link down below for you if you're interested. They're just so adorable. I wish that I could get some good pictures and share them with you on my toddler and baby, but unfortunately, we're trying to keep their faces offline, and my toddler is still a little bit too young to figure out how to do like those kind of pictures. He would just think I was being silly, so I can't really get modeled pictures of them, unfortunately. But yeah, this is all out of stash yarn, 100% acrylic yarn. As you can see on this one, I had run out of the dark green yarn, so I used some of the sagey green color from my stash. And yeah, they were so quick, so easy, and so much fun to knit. So that's why I went ahead and put a listing up in my Etsy shop, because I was like, these are so much fun to knit. I would love to make a few for people if you need gifts for birthdays, or if you just need something for a photo shoot, or just a really cute little autumnal hat to keep your little children warm. So yeah, definitely check that out if you're interested. Super quick, super easy, super fun. Highly recommend it. And again, I will have the pattern link down below, so if you don't want to purchase a ready-made hat, you can make your own. So that's all the hats that I made. And then I made 3 more cowls from the same pattern. I've talked about this on my regular podcast episode. I found the pattern, I think it's just called Pretty Little Cowl by Kellen Kennersley Designs, I think it is. And I made one for myself, and I absolutely loved it, and I definitely plan to make many more. And as illustrated by that, I have 3 here. They're not 100% done. I haven't woven the tails in and stitched them up just yet, so you can see like it's just this really pretty. This one is out of some Baby Bee Sweet Delight, I believe, in like watercolor something or another. I can't remember for sure, but it's just such a pretty pastel-y, Eastery, and then when I seam it up, it'll be like this, and you'll have this pretty lace detailing down here. So pretty. So I made up these 3 as gifts. I'm not going to mention who they're for, obviously, because some of the recipients watch my videos. So, but yeah, so these were perfect, because what you do is you cast on a certain number of stitches, you work down, working increases until you get to the right amount of stitches, and then you work this beautiful simple feather and fan lace detailing, and then you bind off, you block it, and then you seam it together. So quick, so easy. It's all garter stitch, lots of knitting, like super, super mindless. At this point, I have the pattern mostly memorized. I have to look at it for the lace part, but the rest of it I can just do. So I made this one. Then I made this one, which is out of a Christmas sock yarn, and I ended up making it just a little bit bigger because I find that this one is just a little scratchy. It has this glittery, you can kind of see that sparkly, like metallic thread that goes through it, and it's also made from like a sock yarn, so it's just like a wool and polyamide blend, I believe. Oops, this is the right way. And so I made it just a little bit bigger so it wasn't too tight on the neck, so that if the recipient is a little bit sensitive, it won't be too bad. And so what actually happened then, though, is I ran out of my 100-gram skein of yarn because, I should have mentioned this. This pattern calls for DK weight yarn. So this is a DK weight held single. This is a fingering weight held double. And I ran out of yarn, as you can see right here at the end, but I had some red yarn. This is the Drops Fable yarn. And so I was like, ooh, I'll just do the last lace repeat in just a solid red. And it's such a cute little like pop of color. I actually really like it. I was a little bit worried that it wasn't going to look right, so I was asking my mom. I was like, do you think this will look okay? Like, you know, she was like, yeah, I think it'll be fine. So I tried it and I actually really like it. So this one's that one, and then this one is made out of, it's another Hobby Lobby yarn, and it's like a bamboo and cotton blend or something. I really like this yarn. I want to make a summer top out of this. But yeah, it's just this beautiful like deep purple color. So pretty. It's so soft and like so drapey. Like, oh, it's perfect. It's amazing. I am so happy that I decided to try it for this cowl because it was such a perfect project to test out the yarn. And I definitely, like I said, I definitely want to make like a top or a sweater or something out of this. Like, it's just so drapey and beautiful. Oh, I love it. So I'll have on the screen what the specific name of it is because I can't remember, but it's amazing. I really like it, and I think it'll be fantastic for some summer knits, so stay tuned. This yarn is going to be making an appearance again at some point. So now we come to the fun part. I don't know if I can hold all these at once. These were what started it all. So I have had this pumpkin as a whip project in a bag in my closet for over a year now. I started it last fall, I believe. I found the tutorial. It's by 365 Crochet. I think it's like gingham pumpkin. Super easy. It's a free pattern. You work just basically a rectangle, or you work a rectangle with half double crochets, US terms, and you just make a rectangle, and then you seam it together, and then you gather the top and the bottom together, and then you take a tail of yarn and wrap it around to make kind of the wedges of the pumpkin. So I'd had this, you know, half of that rectangle done for ages, and so I was kind of just in that brain space, just a little bit stressed and overwhelmed and just bleh. And so I decided to pull it out. And I was like, you know what? I would love to get this just done and out of my stash. Like, let's just get it over with. So I finished it, and I made the little stem, and I made the little leaves, which are just so cute. And I was like, this is adorable. So then I was like, you know, I've got some other yarns in my stash. So I made a second one. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. So then, I can't remember now if I made this one next or this one. Either way, this one is from the same 365 crochet blog, but it's, you actually work in the round to do it, and then you do the same thing where you get the tail and wrap it around and stuff. So this one is a little bit more difficult. I had to pay a good bit more attention to it. These ones are so easy, especially when you're doing like the color changes. You're like, okay, I work 3 half double crochets with this one, 3 half double crochets with that one, all the way to the end, and it's just super mindless, so cute. I'm definitely planning to make more, just with random scraps. This is all from 100% acrylic scrap stuff that I had left over in my stash. So there is that one. And this one I just changed it up a little bit because I only had a limited amount of the white left. And so I just worked sections of solid, of this like sagey green, and then did the gingham as you can see, and then solid and gingham. And I really like it. And then they also is on that same blog, there's a tutorial for a little like gourd pumpkin. And I used the last little scraps of yarn that I had from making the hat and the cowl that I mentioned earlier in the I Love This yarn. And then I just finished it up with this other color, and it just made it look like exactly like one of those little like pumpkin gourd things that you can buy from the store. And the other thing, I can't remember now which one it is. I ran out of stuffing at some point. So this one is stuffed with yarn scraps. I think this one was stuffed with the last little bit that I had left over from these super bulky hats I used for this. And then this one I used, I'm pretty sure it's this one, I stuffed with like all the little yarn tails that I've been saving for like 4 or 5 years. I stuffed it with that, and so that felt so good that I got so much yarn out of my stash. Like, that was so much fun. So I now have all these adorable like autumnal decorations. Highly recommend this pattern. It's super easy, super simple, so much fun to do, and such a good way of getting rid of 100% acrylic yarn from your stash, especially if you have like those weird odds and ends left over from blankets or like kid knits or things where it's like just little balls of it and you're like, what am I gonna do with this? Make some pumpkins. Highly recommend. Anyway, that is all that I have to share for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed. Stay tuned. Like I said, I'm hoping to get a podcast episode at some point. I have so many other finished objects to share, so I'm debating whether or not I'm going to do a separate just like finished objects video, or if I'm just going to do like a super long podcast episode and just film it in chunks, and it'll be like an hour plus long because I have so much to share. We'll see. I haven't decided yet, but stay tuned for that. I hope that you all are enjoying your September and the beginning of autumn, and I'm planning to post this tomorrow, I think, which would mean that when you're watching this, if you watch it on the day I post it, this would be the first day of fall, so happy official first day of fall. I hope that you're having a, well, no, tomorrow's not. Sunday is the first day of fall, so I'm still planning to post this tomorrow because today's Friday. Regardless, I hope you're enjoying your autumn and fall time so far, and that you're going to get some cool weather. We're supposed to be getting some cool weather soon, and I am here for it. So, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.